Asia is the future of the economic leaders of the world, specifically the southeastern region, which has seen rapid economic growth within the past few years, more famously known as the ASEAN Bloc. Welcome back to this four-part series, where we'll be taking an in-depth look at the fastest-growing economies in Southeast Asia. In the last video, we discussed the top 3 countries racing to become the fastest-growing economies in Asia. In this video, we dive deeper into the country that defied multiple colonizations to become one of the contenders for global economic power, the Philippines. So stay tuned till the very end to find out. Economic background. The Spanish from the west first discovered the Philippines in 1521. They named the island after King Philip II of Spain. The Viceroyalty of New Spain, based in Mexico, ruled the island for more than 300 years. And the effects of those 3 centuries of colonization are seen even today, as about 4,000 Spanish words are present in the modern-day Filipino language. Not only that, but about 0.5% of the population still speaks Spanish, and it still has the highest concentration of Spanish speakers in all of Asia. Following the USA's victory over Spain in the Spanish-American War, the Spanish lost control of the island in 1898, and the USA made it their own territory, with the end goal being to give them their independence. But this plan suffered temporarily as a result of World War II, when Japan occupied the region for about 2 years. Eventually, the Treaty of Manila was signed in 1946, which finally gave the Philippines total independence. However, the people of the Philippines didn't have much to celebrate, as the colonizers and the war left the country in one of the worst economic conditions the country has seen. These days, however, things are looking way different for the Philippines, as the country not only bounced back from the economic fall, but also became a potential global economic power. With over 114 million people calling it their homeland and a GDP of $394.1 billion in 2021, the Philippines is a thriving economy, and that's thanks to a variety of sectors, including agriculture, manufacturing, and services. Moreover, the Philippine manufacturing sector is one of the fastest growing among the major economies worldwide. The Philippines had a GDP growth rate of 7.6% in 2022, comparable to some of the world's fastest-growing large emerging markets in 2022, including the Gulf oil exporting nation of Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates, as well as other rapidly growing Asian emerging economies, such as Malaysia, Vietnam, and India, placing the Philippines among the world's fastest-growing nations with the fastest pace of economic growth since 1976. Strong consumer demand, a thriving labor market, and significant remittances are the bedrock of the country's dynamic economy. Several service industries, such as BPO, wholesale, retail commerce, real estate, and tourism, continue to contribute to the private sector's upbeat outlook and are also expected to support economic growth momentum during 2024. Despite global headwinds like high commodity prices and difficult financial conditions, the poverty rate fell from 23.3% in 2015 to 18.1% in 2021. The nation is making great strides in its transition from a lower middle income status, GMP per capita of $3,950 in 2023, to an upper middle income status, GNP per capita of $4,466 to $13,845, thanks to its persistent recovery and reform initiatives. The government of the Philippines is actively seeking to increase investments in physical and human capital to stimulate growth in the economy and long run. And thanks to their efforts, the country has been able to secure deals with the US, Japan, China, and South Korea, among other nations. Government spending. Government spending has a huge impact on the economy. When the economy slumps, the government may decide to boost spending to get things back on track. This was largely seen during the COVID-19 pandemic, when private companies stopped their spending and the government stepped in to fill the gap. But there's always a debate when it comes to government spending. Some say more money could go into social services and infrastructure, while others say the government should spend less and keep taxes and debt low. Unlike neighboring Indonesia, which is reducing its expenses due to strong income from selling commodities, the Philippines is going in the opposite direction. The country has decided to increase its spending. The reason for this increase in the Philippines includes spending more money on paying off debt and giving raises to government workers and the military. This part of the budget alone adds an extra 226 billion pesos, With an anticipated national budget of 5.2 trillion pesos in 2023, government spending in the Philippines has been rising at a steady rate in recent years. But along with the spending, the deficit has been steadily increasing as well, which has caused concerns among the citizens, as they believe this will lead to higher taxes and a lower quality of life. If things go as planned, the deficit will be 1.45 trillion pesos, or about 6% of GDP, lower than the previous 2 years, but still quite high. Despite that, investment in infrastructure and capital goods is expected to remain strong in the coming years. However, economists and politicians are still debating whether this surge in government expenditure is good or bad for the economy. Foreign investment. In the last video, we briefly talked about FDI in the Philippines, so if you missed that one, be sure to watch it as well. In this video, we'll be going over it in detail. The country's leadership in attracting foreign direct investment, or FDI, stems from its youthful, educated workforce that is fluent in English, its sizable domestic market that includes more than 114 million people, and its position as a gateway to other ASEAN member states. One of the main reasons FDI flows into the Philippines is the thriving services sector, which includes the business process outsourcing (BPO) sector. The Philippines is one of the world's leading outsourcing destinations, and its business process outsourcing industry has been expanding at a rapid pace. Not only that, the country is also home to one of the world's most rapidly expanding consumer marketplaces, which is a big draw for FDI. However, since 2010, the Philippines has lagged regional peers in ASEAN in attracting foreign investment. An estimated $11.9 billion went into the Philippines economy in 2021. FDI inflows shrank to $9.2 billion in 2022, down by 23%. The majority of the FDI equity investments in 2022 targeted the manufacturing, information and communications technology, financial services, and real estate sectors. To attract more foreign investors, the country has made changes to its laws. Now, foreigners can have 100% ownership in businesses in sectors like telecommunications and airports, and can fully own small and medium-sized companies. This is a major shift from the previous requirement of 60% Filipino ownership. Additionally, the 2021 Corporate Recovery and Tax Incentives for Enterprises, or CREATE Act, reduced corporate income tax from 30% to 25% for large firms and 20% for small firms. The rate for large firms will be gradually lowered to 20% by 2025. This law also says that any financial benefits from the government should be based on performance and given for a specific period. It also granted more authority to the Bureau of Internal Revenue (BIR), which narrowed eligibility for value-added tax or VAT exemptions to performing companies. The government of the Philippines has been offering incentives to investors, simplifying procedures for registering businesses, and establishing special economic zones. Thanks to this, foreign investors now see the Philippines as a more welcoming place. The newly industrialized country. The Philippines is one of the few countries in the world that has recently been labeled as a newly industrialized nation, transitioning from an agricultural-based economy towards one based on services and manufacturing. Also, as of the moment, only 10 nations have been classified as newly industrialized, and they are primarily found in Southeast Asian countries like the Philippines, Indonesia, Malaysia, and Thailand. In terms of economic growth, these 4 nations are expected to make waves in the next decade, but these nations have absolutely nothing in common with the Philippines. The Philippines is falling behind these other countries despite having an electronic industry that generates tens of billions of dollars annually. Overall, while the other 3 countries have yearly exports of $200 to $300 billion, the Philippines has only recently recorded exports of about $100 billion, resulting in a large trade deficit. Though these have reduced the expansion of the Philippine economy, the archipelago nation is still among the fastest growing in this entire newly industrialized group. The average annual growth rate of the Philippines economy from 2013 to 2021 was about 4.7%, second only to Vietnam's 5.8% rate among the 5 largest Southeast Asian economies. And that's thanks to the main sectors of the country, where it received the FDI. Main sectors of FDI in the Philippines. Despite being at the bottom of the list, FDI in the Philippines has been on the rise across multiple sectors. The main sectors that have benefited the most from this are transportation and storage, power, real estate, manufacturing and construction industries, administrative and business support services, as well as the technology and communication industries also got substantial investment. With an average contribution of 18% to GDP, manufacturing is a crucial industry in the Philippines. To entice international investors to put money into manufacturing, the government has started providing incentives. Apart from that, the government has been enticing foreign investment in the real estate market to accommodate the rising demand for both residential and commercial real estate. Thanks to this, FDI in the Philippines has also been growing in the construction industry. Due to the country's booming economy and rising need for infrastructure, the industry has been seeing fast expansion as of late, and even the government has been actively taking part in this. The Philippines is also drawing investments in energy, gas, and water delivery. The rising need for energy and water, along with the robust economic growth of the country, has been propelling the sector's rapid expansion in recent years. The Philippines is anticipated to maintain its status as a desirable location for foreign direct investment going forward, thanks to these policies' success in luring investors from around the world. But all the credit for the Philippines' economic growth doesn't go to the FDI. The country has been working hard for this impressive growth. The real GDP growth. So how exactly did the Philippines achieve these growth rates? Well, a lot of things actually are what propel the Philippine economy forward. It could be because of the country's thriving tourist industry, its enduring strength as an agricultural powerhouse, or the fact that the Philippines' electronic and electrical sector, despite engaging in low-value operations, contributes significantly to the economy by raking in billions of dollars a year. This has improved the country's fiscal situation, increasing its international reserves and reducing the deficit in its balance of payments. Having said that, there is yet another underlying industry that we have not covered yet among these elements, one that really jumps out at us. What it calls its economy is the service sector. No sector contributes more to the Philippines' economy than the service sector. Even though it may seem strange, the service sector is the biggest employer in the majority of countries, including Southeast Asia. Nevertheless, when it comes to the export of services, the Philippines is exceptional. When considering the number of jobs and salaries provided, the service industry ranks second in the nation after exports and contributes to around 10% of the country's GDP. An unusual backbone for the Philippines' economy has been overseas worker remittances by Filipino workers abroad, equivalent to around 10% of GDP. In fact, in 2023, the Philippines was among the top 5 receipt countries for remittance inflows among low-medium income countries, which include big countries like India and China. It shows the saving and hardworking spirit of Filipinos abroad. Next on the list for explosive expansion are fast-growing sectors, including healthcare, animation, and video game creation. From what we can tell, the future industries of the Philippines' outsourcing sector are this rapidly expanding subset of high-value services. Even though the Philippines' service exports are a nearly $40 billion industry, they're still insufficient to sustain the country's total economy, which is worth more than $390 billion. But the impact of its service exports in the last several decades and in the years to come is tremendous and cannot be overlooked. The future of the Philippines, a $1 trillion dream. Economic output in the Philippines is projected to reach $1 trillion, driven mostly by rising private spending as the country continues to see a growth spurt in the coming decade. In terms of GDP, the Philippines might see significant expansion in the coming years, reaching $1 trillion or 51 trillion pesos. The nominal gross domestic product of the Philippines was $379 billion in 2021. The main drivers of growth are sharp increases in private consumption spending and robust increases in urban household incomes. There will likely be a jump in GDP per capita from $3,300 to $6,500 thanks to the Philippines' booming economy. An increase in GDP per capita will provide a solid foundation for a booming home consumer market, drawing investment from both within and outside the country. In a variety of years, beginning in 2033, this will facilitate FDI inflows into the Philippines as global corporations expand their local footprint. But what do you think? Will the Philippines reach the economic growth it dreams of? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on future videos.